Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are watching me from. This still remains Diary of a Broken Man, where we discuss political issues, social issues, and every other issue concerning Nigeria. Today we'll be talking about the political evolution of Nigeria from independence 1960 till date. And then we see the different structures that made up, culminated to what we have now as the democracy of Nigeria. So join me. Remember to subscribe, like, share, and comment, and follow in case you are watching me from YouTube. So first of all, before the 1960, before we got our independence, we were formerly, ruled by the colonial masters, the British Empire, who controlled Nigeria from 1914 till 1960 when they gave up the power. Now when we got our independence, the very first things that happened was the Queen Elizabeth was here, and then some other dignitaries from Britain and all over the world who came to witness the great event, the freedom of Nigeria, as they would say, freedom. Whether we are really free or we were really freed, it's still a case to be, looked at some other time. But today, let's say we have freedom, So after that independence, Nnamdi Azikiwe and the Tafawa Balewa became the very first heads of states, where Tafawa Balewa, because we are running the first republic, a parliamentary system of government, where Tafawa Balewa became the prime minister and Nnamdi Azikiwe became the ceremonial president, as they say. Okay, that was 1960. So then we adopted the parliamentary system of government, as we said. Then along that period, from 1960 to 1966, there were rising ethnic tensions, because we ran regionalism. The East was on their own, the West was on their own, the North was on their own, then the Western region, we were on our own when we ran the First Republic, and each person was developing at their own pace and then remitting tax to the center, which is still what I still advocate for now, because the general system of federalism, true federalism, is not really working for Nigeria. The nepotism, the religious division and ethnic division is still a big problem for Nigeria. So if Nigeria would listen to philosopher kings, because Plato say that philosopher kings should be rulers. So if they should listen to philosopher kings, then Nigeria should go back to the very first republic, the regional system of government. So there were ethnic divisions around Nigeria, with northern people creating their own Northern People's Congress, NPC, National Council of Nigerian Citizens, NCNC, which was Igbo dominated then. Then there was the Action Group, the AG, dominated by the Yoruba, competing for power. Each of these people were tussling among themselves, So I wouldn't go into details of, how things played out from that 1960 to 1966, when that First Republic fell, to the very first coup, the January 1966 coup, which was till today. That coup still remains one of a major events that is causing rifts in Nigeria today. But I still believe there was a misunderstanding in history. I still think Nigeria needs to go back to history and revisit so many things we swept under the carpet, because so many things, in history, back in history, were either propagated wrongly, or even now being propagated wrongly for some reasons that is still causing, hatred and dissension among the different factions of Nigeria, different ethnic groups. So that 1966 coup, contrary to popular belief that it was an Igbo coup, which was wrong, because the 1966 coup, irrespective of the fact that General Ife Ajona, General Kaduna Nzogu led the coup, junior military officials then, irrespective of the fact that he led the coup. There were, coup plotters were from different factions of Nigeria, but the way people hold it to an Igbo coup, even till today, still baffles me. Let me give you a list of those who were, people who were among those who plotted that coup. One was Major Chukwuma Kaduna Nzog, who was Igbo, or who is supposed to be Igbo. Because when things happen in Nigeria and you are not on the side of how they want it to be, you are Igbo. But when you are on the side of how then they deny your Igbo-ness. So let's not go into that, because at some point, some people denied that they were not Igbo. And because they denied they were not Igbo, I find it baffling that some people who denied that they were not Igbo, and some people who came from the same area are referred to as Igbo, and the Igbo people are looked at a certain way because of the same people who denied that they were not Igbo. Then the second person was Major Adewale Ademoyoga, who was Yoruba, the author of the book Why We Struck. Then Captain G. Adeleke, who was also Yoruba, and then Major Ifeajuna, who was Igbo. Late Fala Oyewole, who was Yoruba, the author of the Reluctant Rebel. Then late Ebwiko, who was a son. Then Tijani Kasena, who was Hausa Fulani. Late Olafemiyon, who was Yoruba. Then Captain Gibson Jallo, who was Bali. Then Captain Swanton, Middle Belt. Lieutenant late Hope Harris Eraga, who was Uhobo. Late Lieutenant Dag Waribo Ejo. Second Lieutenant Sale Dambo was Hausa, and the second Lieutenant John Aton Pera was Steve. And so I find it very funny that only two people among these people were Igbo, and is still regarded as Igbo coup. But that's not the topic for today, but I just wanted to clear that misconception and probably historical lie that so many people have in their heads. Now, after that 1966 coup, which I won't go into the story, maybe on another day we'll talk about the events that culminated to the Nigerian Biafran Civil War, 1967 to 1970. Maybe on a good day we'll talk about that. But today, let's so on that day, during that period, Tafawa Balewa was sent to the ancestors, and then Major Johnson Aguiyi-Ironsi took over power. But later he was overthrown in July 1966 by the counter coup led by the northern officers, now installing Yakubu Gowon. This is where the story of Nigeria's civil war began. Now, as they installed Yakubu Gowon, tensions were rising in Nigeria from different other parts. But remember, when Aguiyi-Ironsi was there, so many people were telling him, look at this one, do it this way, do it that way. But he was adamant there was something he believed would happen. And then we all know how he died and how but later, Gowon took over power. Now, after that, there were so many events. People were killed both in the north. People were, there were so many, situations that led to the Nigerian war. That situation created the scenario for the Aburi-Ghana Accord. Now, after the Aburi-Ghana Accord, it was concluded that we should go back to regional system of government at Aburi. And then somehow, after this thing, Gowon changed his mind. And then from changing his mind to, living, the only option was the war, which took so many lives. Took about 3 million people from the Igbo side, and so many other soldiers who died from the Nigerian side, which was painful to remember why people would die for. Because war, to me, remains the very least, in fact, the worst option possible. I hate hearing about wars, just like we have in Ukraine, just like we have in Israel. Is going on in Israel now, going on between Israel and Hamas or Palestine. So Wars are very bad. People die in war. It's people who die. Properties are destroyed. Properties that were built over years will be destroyed over. Sometimes there are things we could settle over a cup of coffee. So after that war led to the Biafran War, which took from 67 to 1970. After the war, then Gowon promoted the no victor, no vanquish. But later in 1975 he was overthrown, and then General Murtala Mohammed took over power, who initiated that reforms. Later, he didn't last. In 1976 he was assassinated, and Olusegun Obasanjo took over power. Now that transition to civilian government, Obasanjo saw the drafting of a new constitution in 1979 and handed power to civilian Shehu Shagari in 1979. But unfortunately, and then we entered the Second Republic with Shehu Shagari from 1979 to 1983. Then Shagari's presidency, the 1979 constitution introduced a US-style, presidential system of government where Shehu Shagari, National Party of Nigeria, won election but faced economic decline due to falling oil prices. Because then Nigeria, it was called oil boom. Because you remember 1977, there was this, festival of art and culture, which the then Nigerian government invited heaven and hell from different parts of the world, to come and eat the Nigerian money. There was this saying that the then president, was telling the world that we have enough money to just come and eat, come and join us in eating the money. And those money were what we could have used to develop ourselves and being like other nations where our people japa to. So the next was the coup. So the economic crisis that mounted with Shehu Shagari, caused the 1983 coup, which brought in, Buhari and Idi Agbon. That December 1983 brought in General Buhari, Muhammadu Buhari, who later became another president. That's how Nigeria is. Old people still come back to. Then that military regime took 1983 to 1999. So Buhari regime lasted till 1985 with authoritarian war against indiscipline. Failed to revive the economic system, leading to his ouster by General, Ibrahim Babangida, because he came in with war against indiscipline. He was flogging people. If you wear anyhow clothes, they flog you, and then left the major part, which was the economy, which led to him being ousted by Ibrahim Babangida. Now, Ibrahim Babangida era lasted from 1985 to 1993, and then he promised a transition to democracy, but annulled it when the presidential election, presumed to be won by Moshood Abiola, annulled the same person that was promising everybody we were going back to democracy, we are doing that. He was going around then making speeches that he will go back to. You can imagine a military regime telling people that will go back to, and then when elections were had, he nullified the election and still retained power. And unfortunately, Moshood Abiola was unalived too, which was painful too, because tell me why somebody will be unalive because of political, misunderstandings. So this triggered protest around Nigeria, triggered protest. Now, Abacha's dictatorship started from 1993, then lasted till 1998 when Obasanjo. So General Sani Abacha took over power, seized power, not just took over power, he seized power, ruling repressively until his death in 1998. We all know the story that around his death, and whether it was true or not. As a child, we were hearing he ate apple, this or that, but we know that was not true. But the Nigerian government classified that information. They are yet to tell people exactly how the then president or the then military general died. So now, transition to democracy. Then after his demise in 1998, Abiola also died the same 1998. Moshood Abiola, who was who was supposed, as people heralded, that he won the election of 1993. So General Abu Salam Abubakar organized the election in 1999, restoring civilian rule with the very first president of the Fourth Republic of Nigeria. We sustained even till today. The very first president as Obasanjo Olusegun, who was former military general. From 1999 to 2007, he ruled, trying to combat corruption and reforms, but we all know the stories of, well, he was, to me, one of the best presidents Nigeria had because of so many things he brought into Nigeria that remains some of the best till today. The telephone, so many other things. So then Yar'Adua took over power in 2007 and lasted till 2015. Yar'Adua and Goodluck took over power. Along the line, it was painfully that our then president, who to me remains one of the best, died along the line. And the vice president took over power after Tosso, because it was a huge story in Nigeria. It's nothing to write home about. The president dies and people kept hiding that he died. Then after the day he was brought back, the light was put off at the airport, and sometimes it pains me to hear the stories of what happened in Nigeria, because we're supposed to be the giant of Africa. So, but that's how it is. Some people say it is what it is. So, with the death of Yar'Adua, Goodluck took over power and lasted till 2015 when Buhari, took over power, and then kept going downhill. From then, first in power, focused on security and anti-corruption, but faced economic stagnation, and that was when we had the great recession. And then when the youths were called lazy Nigerian youths, very popular, regime, when the youths were regarded as lazy. Whether they are lazy or not, I'm still to find out, because around the world, Nigerian youths still champion sports, academics. Everywhere you find Nigerians, they excel. So I'm still to find out how Nigerian youths are lazy. Go to the mining fields, go to anywhere you find Nigerians, they are excelling, and they are fighting to, out of the whole lacks we have, because somebody said that being born as a Nigerian, as an African, and then particularly as a Nigerian, life is already leading you 5-0. So you need to fight to equal the 5 before you are already on handicap 5. So, but it is what it is. So, but somehow we became the lazy Nigerian youth. It's the remaining for Nigerian youth to rise up, and reject some of these things. When we are called leaders of tomorrow, it means that we should be at the helm of affairs. It means that we should be, because some of these military rulers were 23 years, 24 years, 27 years when they ruled. Some of those who got us independence around Africa were 23 years, 24 years. Then now, even 30 years is still regarding himself as youth. And some of them are even taking SSA and all those, team kind of job. So then 2023 general election brought in Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the president, the now president from APC, won a contentious election, succeeding Buhari and challenging inflation, insecurity, and call for restructuring. Whether that is, manifesting is yet to be seen, because I don't know. We hope for the best. He said we are taking baby steps. So we hope for the best. We believe in the best, and we are yet to see the best. So the key challenges, that we've experienced so far since 2023 is what I want to highlight now. Number one is ethnic and religious division. For the fact that we have more than 250 ethnic groups, already divided us. And then prior to 2023 election and after 2023 election, that was the peak of ethnic bigotry, peak of ethnic division and religious division in Nigeria. So many people were bringing out their ugly faces, showing their bigotry even without hiding it. Even those in government, using even government media to propagate ethnic dissension and ethnic bigotry, and then security crisis. So corruption and governance has been a very big problem for Nigeria so far. And then we are becoming economically dependent. So economically dependent that we are now looking for investors from here and there when we've not developed ourselves, built infrastructures, necessary infrastructures, and we are looking outside, looking for investors from here and there. We should first of all build ours, then we look for investors from here and there. In conclusion, Nigeria's political journey reflects a struggle to balance democracy with stability. While the Fourth Republic represents its longest democratic stretch, enduring challenges like corruption, insecurity, and ethnic strife tests its resilience. The 2023 election highlights both progress in continuity and unresolved tension. We need to do better, and I hope we do better. Thank you. See you on the next one. Remember to subscribe, like, share, and tell us what you think about, this historical unraveling of the Nigerian state. Tell us what you think. Cheers. See you on the next one.